Welcome everybody. What is the HTML widget, first of all? The HTML widget is a really customizable tool that allows you to create a custom dashboard or custom element inside the dashboard using your specific HTML and CSS code and everything that is related to those two languages. So for example, if you are willing to use some SVG code to show some specific graphical interface, we allow you to do so. So everything that will follow the HTML and CSS specification for HTML5 and CSS3 will be allowed inside the HTML widget. But you will not be able at all to use JavaScript. Why? For a lot of motivation. First of all, for a security reason. But limiting the usage of an HTML widget without JavaScript or Knowage capabilities will be useless. So we provide a series of tags that you can use in alternative to JavaScript and other Knowage behaviors. For example, selection, cross-navigation, for those of you who well know Knowage. And one part that is really necessary is to have some HTML and CSS knowledge, because this specific widget is made for everyone to use, but it's better if you give that capability to your web designer or to someone who knows how to bend HTML code in the best way. Those are extensive HTML widget examples inside different dashboards. We provided those dashboards to different customers, and we use the HTML widget for many different types of interaction. For example, here we are providing, I don't know if you can see my screen, but here we are providing it as an iframe container for an embedded video. Here we are using it as different KPI indicator. Here as an icon container. Here as an SVG to use the percentage in the circle area. Here to see another KPI indicator. Here to embed images and indicator. Here we are using it for a very specific case for a customer, because that customer wanted a specific behavior, and we provided it with the HTML widget. So those are all admissible examples, but you can do much more. It's just up to your HTML, CSS knowledge and the usage and experience of the tags that we will be able to see later. Let me change my pointer. Here it is our widget. When you are creating an HTML widget, you will see the usual widget interface divided in tabs, dataset tabs, where you will set the dataset that the widget will use, style, cross, and filters configuration. But the important thing for today is that the editor. You will see the upper part that is related to a CSS editor, the lower part that is the HTML editor, where you will be able to insert the tag that we talked about before. And in the right side, you will see a list of all the available tags with a little explanation and some tool to help you create them in the best and easiest way in order to insert them inside the HTML editor. You will also have a CSS editor for every widget inside your cockpit. And you will see it inside the general cockpit configuration. But if you need some specific management for a specific widget, you can also use this one inside the specific widget that you've chosen. What are the tags? The tags, as we said before, are the instrument to avoid using JavaScript and Knowage functions inside the HTML widget, but to provide the same behavior. For example, you can get the dynamic value of some column of some dataset inside the HTML widget with a tag. You can set a driver. You can iterate through all the elements inside a dataset. You can choose to show or not to show a div or a container or every element depending on some condition. You can start a selection across navigation as in other Knowage widgets. You are able to make some easy calculation inside the HTML widget. And from the new version that will be launched at the end of this month, you will also be available. You will also have variables usage available. So you will set a variable and you will be able to use it everywhere in the cockpit. There are many ways to use those tags, but we will see right in a moment in a short live demo. To gain some time, because we have a very short amount of time, I already created an empty HTML widget. There is just stub code inside that we will see right now. In my idea, I want to create a KPI card that I just found on Google website, on Google Images. I want to create something similar to check my stock market options. So I created a dataset with all the stock market information available at the moment for a series of fake companies. So first of all, I will get inside my HTML widget and I will set a dataset. This is the dataset I'm interested in that will show the market, the sector, the company, and the value of the company that we will see on the stock market. As you can see, I created an easy HTML structure. I have a container that will contain a company that will show the value somewhere and the data related to the company. I've also added some specific CSS code in order to have this visualization. Okay, let's make it dynamic. First of all, I don't want to have my company. I want to have a dynamic data inside of this element. So let's see from the tags what I have available. For example, I have columns data. Is the tag that I will use to select a specific column value from our dataset. Let's say that I want to have the company name. I don't need any aggregation or anything else. I will just insert it like that and put it in the place that I want. For example, here. Okay, I have a dataset. That dataset will have a lot of values. So if I'm not setting anything inside this tag, I will just get the first value that will be returned by my dataset. It is Delta Technology Holdings. It's okay. Let's apply the same things for the value. Columns data, column value, insert. Okay. Let's replace the value. And let's see. Okay, we are unlucky. We have a data set that has a company that has no value, but we can provide something different. For example, I don't want to have the first row. I know my data set. I want just the fifth row. So let's do the same. And let's insert. As you can see, the tag has been changed. You can do that also manually, but if you are not willing to do it, the helper will do it for you. But let's do it also for that company. Okay, now we have something significant. But as we said before, we have a lot of companies. So how can we use the HTML widget to show all our companies inside our widget? Easy. Let's use the repeater. Let's say that we have a limit of, I don't know, 5 companies, 4, and we can insert the element. Okay, it created a div container with those informations, repeat and limit. The limit is the one that we inserted before. The repeat is something that will allow you to use some condition to stop the repeating. But this is not our case. We want to repeat through our, our widget and see what we can do. So for example, let's repeat all the container of the company for every company that we have. And let's avoid specifying the row. Let's see what happens. Okay, it is not so beautiful, but as you can see, at the moment we have the first one that we were showing before and other 3, because we selected a limit of 3 items, 4 items. If we choose a different limit, of course, it will expand. If you need to see something, for example, the index of that element inside the repeater, you can use the repeat index, and it will automatically generate the index. Why am I not using the row in here? Because inside a repeater, every column that you are inserting that has not specified a row will have his row replaced with the current repeat index. So it's like writing something similar, row equal to kn repeat index. We will not do it because we have the functionality already working, but as you can see, we have complete control over that element. We want to see a different behavior for that component. Easy. Let's change the behavior inside the CSS. Let's say that we want 2 items every row. And here we are. Okay. Let's go to the next element. We were watching that KPI card that has some sort of icon. Okay, we can try to add that icon. Let's do it in this place that it's empty. And let's use this library that is already inside Knowage and you are free to use, that is Font-Awesome. For those of you who don't know it, is a library of a massive amount of icons. Most of them are free to use, and you can just include it inside your project, or you can use the inclusion inside Knowage. So if you want to use them inside your HTML widget, you are able to do it. Just saying fa, for example, fa thumb up, if I remember correctly, should be the code to show the thumb up, like the like icon. Let's see if I remember correctly. No, I'm not. Search it. Font-Awesome. Sorry, my connection is a little slow. Thumb up. Here we are. Thumbs up. Oh, I forget the S. Let's copy it from here. You will just need to use that element to have it inside Knowage. So let's go back to our widget. Let's put our icon here. And here we are. Okay, but this icon is useless at the moment because we need to provide something like, I don't know, a condition. That's easy inside our widget because we just need to provide one with a thumb up and one with a thumb down. And then we can use our conditional container. Let's say that the condition is that the value should be equal to I don't know, if I remember correctly, it was 1.6 million. I will take the if condition and I will put it where I want. For example, here, and here I will put the other one. Let's see what is happening now. You can just see one icon because the other one is being hidden by our condition. Let's take one item that is for sure correct, and let's put it here as a string. Also here. Oh, as you can see, this one is pointing up, the other are pointing down. And this will change dynamically when we change something else. So for example, let's take another widget. Let's take a selector. Let's choose the same data set. Let's change the column. We will change the sector. And yeah, we will use that one. Okay. Here we are. We have a selector with all the available stock market categories. Let's try to use capital goods, for example. Okay, they are changing. Let's get back to the initial check and we have the correct condition. I don't know if we are that lucky to find another $1.6 billion. So I will change, but for example, you will not be able to see what we were searching for. And here we are, as you can see, we are able to change it and it will take the selection that we already used. But what if we want the selection to start from the HTML widget? What can we do? For example, let's use the selection tool. Let's select the column that you want, for example, the company, and let's use the dynamic value. Dynamic value is just a placeholder. Okay, I will take it and paste it on the element that I want to be the starting point for my selection, the link, let's call it like that. And I will put it inside the company name. Perfect. As you can see, the tag is telling us that we will use the company dataset, so the company column, and we will pass as dynamic selection value, dynamic value. But dynamic value is just a string. So let's use that element instead. Okay, let's see. Let's click on, as you can see now the cursor has changed. Let's click here. Okay, the selection is on the column company and the values is InnoSpec Inc., the one that we selected, and is the only one available, as you can see. I can do it with all the others. And you will see it there. Now I have a lot of null. If I would like to remove them, I will just need to put a KNIF tag to remove all the null values. Let's do it to make it look better. KNIF equal to, it was company name. It's different from null. No, I did the wrong. Okay, I did something wrong. Sorry. KNIF column name company, different from null. Maybe is an uppercase. I don't know. We don't have that much time to investigate. I will see later. No, it was not that. Okay, it's different from null. I will get it later, but If we had some other test, I will ensure you that it will work. So sorry for that. Okay, now what else can we do? We have seen the selection, but we are still missing some important behavior inside Knowage, that is the cross navigation. For those of you that know, the cross navigation is some sort of link between different documents. So we will start from our HTML and pass some data to a new document, always inside Knowage. To do so, you need to specify a cross navigation. I already did it, and it's called webinar cross navigation. This navigation has some parameter that I will pass from output in our HTML widget to an input in another document. And I am able to choose a static way to pass it, a dynamic, or a selection. I want to use the dynamic, so we will be able to pass the data that has been selected. Now let's go to the editor HTML. Now the cross navigation will be available. If we will remove the cross navigation, it shouldn't be. Wait, no, it's still, because I selected it. And let's go to the editor. Let's add the cross navigation and let's insert it. As you can see, it's quite easy. You can just take K and cross and pass it to the element that you want to pass the navigation to. Let's take it here, for example. What will happen when I will click on some of those labels? We will get to another document, but at the moment we are not passing any parameter because we are not telling the tag what we want to pass it. So we need just to provide some more information. That is, for example, the company name, as usual. Okay. As you can see, we are changing document. And this is the parameter that I just sent. I can do it again with another company. And here we are. This parameter can be an input to every other widget, for example, to a table, in order to create something more complex, to create a parameter inside your dataset. This is up to you. That's just the functionality that we need to pass an information to a different document, because with the selection, you can pass it here in the same document, but it will not be applied to different documents. In that way, you can also communicate with other documents. Then what else we are missing? We are missing, for example, the preview, which is a behavior very similar to the cross navigation. We need to provide a data set, for example, always our data set. And we need to insert that tag. As we did before for the cross navigation, we will change it to game preview. Let's remove that one. Let's try. Oh, maybe I set the direct download. Yeah, I guess so. I created a dataset download directly, and we should be able to find the preview of our element. Now I'm not able to do it, I don't know why. Maybe I have the wrong monitor shared. Oh yeah, wrong monitor, no problem. But you will be allowed to see the dataset that you are using as a download element. Then we are missing the last important tag, is the variable. As you can see now, I haven't set any variable. You can find them here. Inside the data configuration, you will see the variable definition. This will be just from the 7.2 version of Knowage that will be released really soon, I think, for the end of this month. You can create a variable, for example, my test. You can use a lot of stuff inside your variable, for example, a static value. You can use a dataset value, as we've seen before. You can set an analytical driver or a profile attribute from the user. Let's try to use a profile attribute, for example, my roles. And let's save it. Okay. Now let's try to write somewhere the value of my variable. Okay, there it is. Those are my roles at the moment. This can be useful if you are willing to insert it inside your k-and-if, for example, to allow just some people to see some of your HTML widget values. That can be very handy and useful. And those are all the tags that at the moment are working inside the HTML widget. Most of them are also available inside your CSS editor. So for example, if you want to set a percentage of your width or height using a value that comes from your dataset, you are free to do so. You just need to replace that element with some sort of value. For example, like that. I will not test this because it will break for sure, because I don't know a width with the dollar sign. So let's keep it like that. But for example, we can use this element that is a smart tag that we are using just for the CSS, that in case of multiple HTML elements that will take the same CSS class that you inserted, you can specify which widget you are using dynamically using this KN widget ID. You will not need to search for it inside your console, or you will lose it when duplicating, because this one will automatically update and use the correct one. So those are I think almost all the possibility that we can have inside an HTML widget. Of course, we can, if we had some more time, we can make it look much better, but we don't have so much time. So I prepared something for you that is an easy example, but can show you the capabilities of the HTML widget. Because, for example, you can see this element behind is just some SVG that is moving with a CSS transition. And this is a smart KPI that will change the arrow on a condition of major than 2,000 euros a month. Let's see someone who's earning less, for example, this one. As you can see, it's less than 2,000. It has changed. And we can do it all the times that we want. Here we are. And let's see some code just to show you some of those examples. Here it is. As you can see, it's very easy. We are showing some dynamic information and some static information, euros month. We are providing some if that will change the icon as we did before to a certain amount. Also, that amount can be a dynamic value if you want. And we are providing something that will be static. As you can see, that this is the result. For this one, the code is a little more complicated because, as you can see, we are using an SVG file directly that is being taken and converted to XML code. You can use many different software to do so, for example, Inkscape. Then you can just click on the file and take the SVG and put it inside your SVG, your HTML widget, sorry. You can provide also CSS information regarding that element, the animation, whatever you want, and then you can have something like that. So those are just some examples, but as I showed you before, you can do a lot of stuff. If you have some web designer that knows how to move in those languages, you are really free to do something that can be very stunning graphically. Now let's get back to our presentation. Now let me give you some hints. First of all, for those of you who are not so prepared in HTML and CSS, and also for those of you who are, I suggest you to go and read the documentation for the widget, because I tried to talk about every component inside the widget, but maybe I've missed something. For example, I ensure you that you can also include external elements. For example, the Google fonts. Let me show you the example. It will take just a minute. Let's go to Google Fonts, for example, and let's take one of them. For example, one that we will easily recognize. Okay, this one. Let's select this style, and let's try to embed it. We can use the CSS import to do the embed. We can just go here, go to the CSS, change the import because I already imported one, change the CSS rule here, and we are able to see the font that is changing. That's a very easy example, but you can also include some other libraries for some new icon library if you don't want to use Font. You are very free to do it, but at one condition. That condition is that you need to be aware that you are including something external, so something that can possibly be dangerous. So if you will follow the documentation, you will see where you will have to add the whitelist. So the list of all the elements that are available externally of your Knowage installation. For example, I've put inside my whitelist Google Fonts. Otherwise, the first person that will try to run that code will no longer see the inclusion, because for security reasons, it will be truncated. All the documentation regarding those specific elements is present inside the widget documentation in Knowage Read the Docs. So please be aware of that and read the documentation. You will get those slides in your email in the next 24 hours, and you will be able to get that link, but you can just search Knowage documentation on Google and you will reach it easily. Then, as I said before, we have a global CSS editor inside Knowage. You will see it inside the cockpit configuration. If you are creating some CSS class that will be used by all your HTML widgets, please use it. Because I can tell you that when you have 10 different HTML widgets and you have some class that is overriding the other, it will be difficult to find which one is overriding who, because they will be inside every single HTML widget. In the example that I made, to be shorter in time, I've put everything inside the CSS editor inside our HTML widget. But remember to do it just when you really need to do it for that widget. For example, if you need to provide it just for a specific column width, for example, as we said before, and you need that information, use it inside the single HTML widget. Otherwise, try to use the global CSS editor. Another important part is to test the widget on different resolution, because Knowage will behave in some way. And maybe on some screen, you will see your HTML widget differently. So test it on different resolution to be sure that you have what you want. And in case you are not getting it, remember to use media queries. If you don't know them, search for them on the internet, and you will find the powerful instrument that they are, allowing you to choose different CSS property for different resolution or different screen. As I show you, you can include external libraries, but external libraries sometimes are very heavy. So pay attention to include exactly what you want. For example, if you want to include 10 new fonts from Google Fonts, be prepared that it will take a lot of time. So you will lose something like 10 seconds of loading time just for those external libraries. So use them, but use them paying attention to that. And those are all the hints that I have for new HTML widget users. I will tell you some frequently asked questions to me. For example, is the HTML widget responsive? No, it's not responsive by itself. If a customer asks you to create something that will be responsive, you can do it, but it's up to you. You have to pay attention to what we said before, and you have to create some media query to allow it to be responsive, and it will follow what you set for it. So remember to use it, understanding that it will be used on different devices probably. And one constraint is that Knowage will always be seen landscape. Also on mobile phones, you will always use it landscape and not portrait. So remember that in case some of your customers are asking to have a different navigation, because it will not be allowed. But you will need to take care of small mobile devices. And this is up to you, but as I showed you before, you can do it easily with media queries. You can use all the available HTML tags, including iframes. You will just need to take care of buttons elements, because button elements have some security, very strict security policy. So we need to remove them. Also for script tags, the filter will remove them. So just take care of them. And if you want to use, for example, an iframe, you can do it, but first you need to provide the whitelist in order to keep it and not losing it. Thank you very much. Thank you for participating. And bye, everybody. Have a nice day.